the French soldier who fought in 7 wars. The rise, the ruin, and the secret of Marshal Michel Ney. Before I continue, please kindly do this because you might not see me again. Thank you. Marshal Michel Ney charged where others fled. The Napoleon called him the bravest of the brave. From a cooper's son to a marshal of empire, his life was like the best and the worst of the French Revolution and the Napoleon's age. This is a story of Michel Ney, the soldier who fought through revolutionary chaos and the chain of coalition wars, 7 conflicts that reshaped Europe, and the secret behind the courage and his downfall. Michel Ney was born in 1769 in St. Louis, in the borderland between France and German states. He began life in a humble household. His father was a cooper, but he joined the cavalry in 1787, right before revolutionary Europe erupted. Over the next 2 decades, Ney rose from a lowly NCO to become one of the most Napoleon famous marshals. For those that don't know the meaning of NCO, it's a non-commissioned officer, someone who commands soldiers but started without a noble belt. Between the 1790s and 1815, Europe was almost always at war. Historians often package the Napoleonic era into several named conflicts: the wars of the Third, the Fourth, the Fifth, the Sixth, and Seventh coalitions, plus the Peninsular War and the Russian campaign, and together they are commonly described as even major Napoleonic conflicts. Ney's first big appearance were in France's Revolutionary War. He fought as a Valmy in 1792, a fight that proves revolutionary France would be easily crushed, and later in the action at Neerwinden and the Rhine campaign. Those years hardened him. He fought very well in the war, and he was noticed by the senior commanders, and many soldiers were shouting his name on their way back to the camp. By the 1804, Napoleon crowned himself emperor and elevated military stars to marshal rank. Ney was one of the first 18 marshals of the empire. Over Ney's campaigns in 1805, 1806 and 1807, he led course at Elchingen, Jena and Friedland. His aggressive style and personal bravery made him a frontline legend. But not every campaign was a triumph. The Peninsular War in France exhausted French forces and chewed up commanders. Ney's time there revealed limits to boldness, supply problems, guerrilla warfare, and stretched French commanders. He showed courage, but Spain was where many French officers' reputation was detained. Spain wasn't a set-piece battlefield. It was ambush, local resistance, and long supply lines. Even bravery marshals paid the price. Then came 1812, the invasion of Russia. This is the campaign the historians called the catastrophic. Ney role changed. He became the rear guard, the last to cover the retreat. Eyewitness account praises his steadiness. He led exhausted men through snow, rear guard skirmishes, and the famous crossing of the Berezina river. He was even brave in times of chaos, and the action turned him into a legend. He earned Napoleon's tribute, the bravest of the brave. But the victory didn't protect Ney forever. After Napoleon's first abdication in 1814 and the Bourbon Restoration, he pledged allegiance to the new king. But when Napoleon returned in 1815, Ney switched back, at first publicly to stop Napoleon, then unexpectedly rejoining him. This political flip proved fatal. After Waterloo and the fall of Napoleon, Ney was arrested, tried for treason by the restored Bourbon regime, and executed by firing squad in December 1815. Ney's decision to rejoin Napoleon looks like a betrayal to the restored monarch. Even ironic service couldn't save him from punishment. Why did Ney behave the way he did? Changing headlong, staying with retreating men, changing political sides. Let's boil it down to 3 simple secrets anyone can understand. Ney did it because of social background and opportunities. Do you remember Ney came from a modest origins? The revolutionary leveled aristocratic privilege, creating rare openings for talent, and his social hunger pushed him to seize every chance. He was part of a revolutionary and Napoleon armies. His individual boldness was rewarded, leading him from the front built loyalty and morale. Ney knew that His image was tied to direct action, not staff work, but his action era blurred the line between personal loyalty to commander and loyalty to the regime. Ney's allegiance shifted because the institution around him were collapsing and resembling. Because of his ego and the human fear, he thought he had the recipe for both heroism and tragic error. There are myths about Ney that was unbeatable, or that his execution was purely revenge. Reality is more complex. He had tactical wins and tragic losses. Ney's execution was political. The Bourbons needed an example, but it also reflected the bitter divisions of post-Napoleonic France. Historians still debate whether Ney's actions were courageous loyalty or fatal optimism. After his execution on December 7, 1815, Ney's body was quietly taken to Paris. There was no grand state funeral, no public honors, just a simple burial. His family arranged for him to rest in the cemetery, where so many French figures of history would later lie. His grave was modest at first, but over time, visitors began to mark it as a site of memory. Today, Marshals Ney too can still be found in Paris, not far from the resting place of artists, poets, and elofunctionaries. Unlike his heroic reputation on the battlefield, his grave is very simple, a quiet stone monument in one of the world's most famous cemeteries. It reminds us that even the bravest of the brave met a quiet end, far from the roar of cannon fire and the cheers of the soldiers. Michel Ney remains a test case. He shows us what war does to characters. It can make people into legends. It can scatter them into cautionary tales. For modern viewers, his life raises simple questions. When is bravery admirable, and when it becomes dangerous? When is loyalty noble, and when does it become self-destructive? Ney gives no daddy answer, only a dramatic life that still speaks across 2 centuries.